I was in a very dark place, a very dark place. And I was blaming everything. I was blaming everyone. It's like, that mindset of why did this happen to me and stuff like that.
Okay, great. So, welcome everybody to another episode of Voices Unfiltered. So, today I wanted to try and get into the mindset of an athlete and try and look at what it means to go from adversity to excellence. So today's conversation is not purely about how many medals and how many times we've won or trophies we have on the shelves, but it's about what happens before the success, or rather, what has happened before the success. You know, those unseen moments, the quiet resilience, and the mindset that gets built when life doesn't go according to plan. So, my guest today is someone whose journey is in another continent and has continued on another continent. Pressure, setbacks, reinvention. He grew up in South Africa to carving out a life and a career in Dubai. So, his story is one of grit, discipline, and growth. So, this conversation is about adversity, excellence, and what it really takes mentally to become an athlete. Elrico, welcome to Voices Unfiltered. It's so
Thank
nice
you,
to
man.
have you. Great. How you been? How you been settling in?
Good, good. Still getting used to the system, used to the life of Dubai. But so far, so good. Just focusing on work and basically doing what I need to do, you know, making people better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And Elrico, I just want to take you back. Where did you grow up in South Africa? I mean, what was it like as a kid growing up?
So as a kid, I would say I didn't have it easy because I grew up in a very small town in Cape Town called Mariesburg, where basically everybody knows everybody. So didn't have convenience. Obviously, I grew up with just a mom, and yeah, life as a kid, I won't say it was easy, but it also wasn't like too hard, if it makes sense. But as a kid, because I was the only boy in the family, or from my mom's side. I had to be a boy and a man, if it makes sense. So as a kid, obviously, that's a lot of pressure on yourself. But also at the time when I was still a kid, I didn't have it easy in the sense of my mom was dating a guy, and because considered as a mixed race, so my mom is obviously colored and my dad was a white man. So because of the guy that my mom dated, there was a lot of hatred towards me. So as a kid, for instance, if I can make an example, that my mom sometimes had to dish me up food in a Tupperware, and I was chased out of the house. And unless I had to go sleep at somebody else's house. And yeah, so basically, long story short, that me and my mom was abused because of that. Because of there was so much hatred towards me as a kid, and because I was basically a white man's child. So many things in a sense of like, say for instance, if my mom dished me up, dished food up for me, and for instance, the food for him looked too much, my mom got beaten, or I got beaten, or I was kicked out of the house. So we, as a kid, we had two houses. So the one house where we basically stayed, and then the other house was basically nobody was living in it. So I still remember I was like 8, 9, 10 years old in that range, where I was kicked out of the house, where I had to, as a kid, literally go sleep in that house alone. Sometimes the house didn't even have power on. Yeah. So basically like that, yeah, it just if I if I if I can think back now, it for me it's like I had so much hatred towards my mom because I was like, how can you allow this, that me as a kid had to go through that stuff? But I also figured out as I got older that all my mom was doing basically also was protecting me because obviously also she was scared. So yeah, that's basically my life as a kid.
And Elrico, when you said the realization that your mom had to do this,
Yeah.
because she was scared, was that at a very young age that that realization set in? Or was this something now that as you grew older, you begin to reflect and go, a lot of things were out of her hands?
I would say like as I grew. a much more conscious mind, had to do like, because obviously, like I said, like as a kid, I had to do things on my own. I had to make choices on my own. Like my mom always gave me that type of freedom in a sense of like if I wanted to do something, she always told me like, listen here, like you have to make that choice on your own because you need to be a man. Like I said, like, and I know for some people it will be like, how could your mom do that to you? But I'm extremely grateful for that because every choice that I made led me to the position where I'm at today. My mom never told me like, listen here, obviously if things was for not for my benefit in the sense of like say for instance some a choice that I had to make that was a wrong choice, my mom would tell me like, listen here, no, you're not gonna go there, you're not gonna do this, you're not gonna do. But if she knew that it was maybe something for my greater good, she would be like, that's a choice you need to make because I don't want you one day to sit back and be like, but you told me to do it and because it didn't work out, to blame her, if it makes sense. So in that sense, I'm grateful for it. But like I said, like as a kid, it was honestly it was hard. It was very hard. Like say for instance, like there was certain times that we didn't even have food, but my mom made sure that we at least got to eat. Stuff like that. That guy that my mom was dating, he obviously wasn't a provider also. So my mom had to work sometimes. She had to work like 4 to 5 jobs. Like to go clean this person's house, to work there, like just to receive some income to provide for us and stuff. Yeah. So basically, most of my support came from, except obviously my mom, came from people outside of my family, if it makes sense.
So
So
you
yeah,
had some, but you had people to turn to, right?
yeah, yeah,
And the boys were the twins. They were saying something quite insightful the other day, and they were saying sometimes we need to forgive our parents for what they've done. They too are also parents for the first time on this
yeah,
planet.
yeah,
It's they make mistakes. They think what was the best thing to do at that moment. It may not have been the best, but
yeah.
for them, yeah, unfortunately. But uh, Rico, are you the only child, or is there
No,
other
I'm the
siblings?
only boy, and I have three sisters. A older one, second oldest. I'm the third one, and then I have a younger sister. So yeah, so I was the
Okay.
only boy basically. Imagine.
So that's a big ask. That's a big ask
Yeah,
to be the
but
only
yeah,
boy. But I'm sure you were pretty spoilt as well,
yeah.
having
I,
sisters.
I Yeah, I kind of was because obviously, like, they teach me kind of the roots of, and I could also obviously see, like, how, say, for instance, how their boyfriends and stuff would they, like, treated them, like, I had to be the one that, okay, come cry on my shoulder, stuff like that. Even that are, like, with my older sister, with my younger sister, my second older sister, I had to be like, like even though I was younger than them, I had to like motivate them, stuff like that. So yeah, like I would say, like as a kid, I had a lot of pressure on my side, a lot.
Wow, wow. And then of course sport somehow, I wouldn't
Yeah,
say took over, but entered your life. I mean, when did that happen? I mean, was it something that you enjoyed, or was it just an escape for you to stay out of the house longer during the day and just
yeah.
kind of
No,
hang around the fields?
no, I won't say it wasn't a escape for me. It was just like as a kid, like my mom also, she used the word that I grew up with a rugby ball. So meaning that I was 5 years old, then my cousin would take me to the rugby field. Even like when they were like practicing rugby and stuff, I would go kick a ball, I would go run up and down the field, stuff like that. So since I knew that I want to play rugby and stuff like that. And as I grew older and older and older, the feeling of it or the enjoyment of it just became more alive and live. And yeah, since that age, basically, I started playing rugby. And when I was in primary school and stuff, I always played a age above me because I trained with the club rugby guys, stuff like that. So
So at that point, when you were playing above, a year above your category, was it then that you realized that, hold on a second, I'm actually quite different. I'm a different athlete. I'm
yeah,
built differently. I performed. Was it then? Or was it much
yeah.
later that the coaches then said, look, Rico, you're quite talented?
Yeah, I at first I won't say like I knew it and stuff. Like for me it was just purely I would say like talent, and at that age and stuff, obviously like I didn't know the things that I'm knowing now, like in a sense of you have to work hard for the things that you want in life. So I was basically just going on talent and stuff. And obviously at that age also, ego was involved, stuff like that.
Mm.
People praises you and stuff like that. You think like, yeah, just make an example, you Cheslin Colby or whatever the case may be. Because obviously also because I grew up in a very small town and stuff, like everybody knew everybody. And like if I was walking in the streets, the people would be like, this boy is so talented, stuff like that. So that that also gave me, how can I say, like in a sense of in the right direction of, oh, I'm actually doing something different, or I'm actually doing something good because the people talks about me, if it makes sense. So yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, your success at that point, I mean, do you think a lot of it was just pure natural talent? Or did you also put in like the discipline and the hard work? You see it. And, was there a fair balance or was it just pure talent that got you through in the
I would
early years?
Yeah, I would say honestly, 80% talent, 20% work ethic. Because like I didn't work as hard as I was supposed to, if it makes sense. Because obviously I was a kid at that age and stuff like that also. I was just literally just going to training, fitness training, go home, because I didn't have like that guidance in the sense of, listen here, if you want to become professional or anything like that, you need to you need to go an extra mile and stuff like that. Even though my cousin took me to the rugby field and stuff like that, but also he wasn't like the pillar in the sense of, listen here, you can play professional, but you need to work harder and stuff like that. Everything in that sense I had to figure out on my own.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And do you think, I mean, if you look at school kids now, any sport, at some point, do you think hard work outworks talent, if you want to call it that?
100%. I, w- I would say 100%, because talent can only get you to a certain point. If the talent is not there anymore, what are you gonna do? You
Mm,
know. But
true.
if you have the talent and you have the hard work, it will last way
Yeah,
longer. You know,
yeah,
like I always make an example of, say for instance, Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, he wasn't like talented. He was obviously talented, but also his work ethic till this day is lasting. Because he knew
mm,
that hard work is gonna get you way more further, in a sense of like that, because his fundamentals or his foundation was built on hard work, not just talent.
yeah, yeah, true, very true. Enrico, I mean, so yes, you were talented, but it doesn't mean that you were always winning and always succeeding.
Yeah,
Right? I mean, there were some
never.
losses in the personal life, and you shared a real challenge that you went through. What are some of the other losses that kind of shaped you into what you became? And it can be on and off the field.
I would say like getting the injury in my lower back, where I had to basically, I don't want to say I had to quit rugby, but I got an injury in my lower back where I was almost like paralyzed. I won't say paralyzed, but I was like, I didn't have feeling in my left side for almost a month. And I was walking on crutches and stuff like that. Yeah, so I would say like that was the biggest loss for me, but also it was the most amazing thing that could happen to me also. And the reason why I said it is like that's where it kind of saved me in a person. You know what I mean? Because like I realized it is that if God can give you something, but he can take it away from you also. Because I didn't appreciate it that much. I was going to clubs, I was not loving a athlete life or a professional life and stuff like that. And I had to obviously now at the age that I'm at now, I had to learn that because, like I said, like it can be taken away from you so quickly. And when that happened, at first I was in a very dark place, a very dark place. And I was blaming everything. I was blaming everyone. It's like, that mindset of why did this happen to me and stuff like that. And till the one day I would never forget it, is that the one day I was sitting on the couch and I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna feel sorry for myself anymore. And I put the one crutch down and I started running. But when I mean running, I didn't mean like from the first go started running. I was like humping the whole time, humping it. And my mom was also like, "What the hell are you doing?" and stuff like that. I was like, "This is not this is not my life. This is not gonna hold me back from doing or accomplishing the things that I want to accomplish and stuff." And that on that age, that's where my love for fitness started growing. Like, and that's where I adopted the mindset of in the sense of, hey, you need to work hard for the things you need to that you want to achieve and stuff like that. And a lot of people, they when I run and stuff like that, as you know, obviously sometimes I run far distances and stuff like that. People will tell me like, what are you running away from? And my simple answer is, I'm not running away from anything. I'm running towards it because for me, running is not just about the physical aspect or the fitness aspect of stuff. Like I spend so much time, quality time with myself in my mind, like clearing my mind and thinking about the things. And for me, that's the that's the most time I spend time with God, because I keep talking, I reflecting, obviously more internally and stuff like that. So for me, it's not the aspect for me. It's not about running, like in the sense of I'm getting fitter and stuff like that. Yeah, obviously that is a benefit. That is a big benefit. But for me, it's more about like clearing my mind. Basically short term dealing with my shit.
Mm.
So yeah,
Mm. And was there any particular individual who like saw something special in you even before you
yeah,
saw it?
yeah. So yeah, to backtrack a bit. So I was 16 years old when I got a bursary to go to Johannesburg, Arauco Scholarship. And I went to Westwood, Florida, and under 16, and I met there's my one friend, Brandon. So since that day, he took me to his house, obviously like weekends to go sleep there and stuff like that. And since that day, I started like sleeping there, and his family took me as their own child. I became part of
Oh,
their family. So yeah, that family is the things that they've done for me and still doing for me is honestly like I'm extremely grateful. And me and Brendan like we always challenge myself. Challenged ourselves in the sense of trying things and stuff like that. And I would never forget it. We were sitting on the couch. He was more the enthusiastic one in the sense of wanting to try things, stuff like that. And we were sitting on the couch and it was like uh, I spoke to this one guy. We're gonna go later to CrossFit. At that time, I didn't know what was CrossFit. For me, it was just like at that time we were just pumping iron, going to Planet Fitness, just training, stuff like that. And I was like, okay, cool, let's go. And we went, and sorry, we went and stuff. We did CrossFit, and that first day we went to CrossFit M4M, Made for More. And that first day we were training and stuff, and they had like a fun thing where people were trying to do ring muscle ups and stuff like that. I've never ever tried it ever before. And I was just like, okay, let me try it. And I did it. And I was like, oh, this actually feels pretty cool. But also the high intensity, the training and stuff like that. And from there on, it was like a flip, a flip switch in my mind and stuff like that because it was so challenging in a sense of like, because obviously, as you know, like training, you never classify yourself as fit, because every single day you're gonna get humbled. Like you're gonna think like I'm super fit or whatever the case may be. You start training and then you feel like, oh, I need work. And that aspect made us or made me keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going till it became like a habit and stuff. And now I would say it's part of me. So yeah, but eh, to backtrack and stuff like his family, but him himself that was so good for me and stuff because if it wasn't for him also, I would have never been in this position, if it makes sense. Because if I've never met him, I wouldn't have been in this position because they were more like a family for me, you know, than my own family. Till this day, like his mom and his dad took me in as his own son also, and that feeling of having a dad made everything way more smoother if it makes sense. So for me, it was like more, they were more my family than my own family. Because like I said, I also had get a resistance between my family and stuff like that because I love them, but they're very close-minded. You know, they have the mindset of living in a box in the sense of what I have, I'm happy with it, or I'm not happy with it, but they're not doing anything to change it. So what Brandon and them was like, especially Brandon, he pushed me into direction of, hey, there's more to get. There's more to get because that's also the mindset that he had. And his brother, Wesley, I have so much respect, love for that guy because if somebody asked me, who do I want to be like? My simple answer would be like Wesley. And the reason why I said it is because that guy, his persona as a always help, and he will always go to extend to help and stuff like that. When I started seeing that, never gets angry. Obviously, everybody does, but it never shows it. You know, stuff like that is like doesn't like conflict. He likes peace. You know, he likes to make jokes. You know, stuff like that. And that's who I want to be. That I want to yell people. You know, I want to be in a position where I can yell people and stuff like that. And that is who Wesley is and was for me. Also, it's like I can ask him anything if he can, he will help me. You know, stuff like that. And for me, that's the most amazing thing to see how he looks or how he treats his brother, his wife, his mom, his whole family. It's amazing. He's for me an example of a man to be like a man, if it makes sense. So yeah,
Reminds me of a book I read once. I think it's Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And
yeah.
he speaks of his biological dad, who was the poor dad, and his friend's dad, who was this multimillionaire, but is kind of his rich dad. So, yes, not his biological dad, but a man who's had that sort of influence. Have you ever seen your dad? Have you ever met him? No.
I don't. It's actually there is a reason for it also. So because obviously I would call it like I was a hit and run basically. So my dad had a wife, and obviously his wife was white, you know. And I don't wanna say that she was racist or anything like that, but he wasn't allowed to see me, or I wasn't like I couldn't like come close to him, or he couldn't like come close to me. Like I knew I have a brother also from my dad's side. Me and him, like, we never like spoke or like, like in general. But if I went to Spa, if I saw him, I would greet him. He will greet me because also he had a white wife, obviously. So they basically they've hide me. Like even though they knew that I'm his brother, or he knew that I'm his brother, and my dad knew I was alive and stuff like that, they couldn't because of their partners or whatever the case may
Sure.
be. But yeah.
Rico, you spoke a lot about mindset, but I'm sure there's times when there's a lot of self doubt and pressure. I mean, how do you manage that internally? Because I hear you say that you spend a lot of time with yourself. You spend a lot of time. So how do you manage all that self doubt, that pressure, the stress?
Like my favorite my Bible verse is I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I truly, I truly believe that. Like, obviously, self-doubt is gonna happen and stuff like that. But I've learned to tell myself, like, you will never know until you do it. Like, my favorite brand, which is Nike, also, like the saying says that, says do it. Like, do it. If you receive the outcome, then it is what it is. But you will never know until you do it. So that's how I basically, can I say, like I killed myself doubt because obviously everybody do doubt themselves, like thinkers like I was never be able to do it, stuff like that. But how do you know if you've never tried it before? Like if I must make it a stupid example, it's like you tell yourself like you want to run a marathon, but instantly you've never tried it before, but then you're like, I would never be able to do it. How do you know if you've never tried it? It's like that's how I say. And we as humans, we instantly put ourselves, like limit ourselves in a sense of before we even tried it and even tried it. But for me it was never about like self-doubt and self it was for me it was all about self-reflection. And that's why I reflect at night and stuff like that. Like, was I a good human being today? What can I change? what did I do wrong? Stuff like that, so that I don't go into the next day with the same mindset or with the same baggage of yesterday. That's why they say, like, if you go to bed, you put it to bed. You don't want to go to bed and start thinking about what you did wrong and stuff. When you go to sleep or whatever, you must try to sleep peacefully. I know it's easier said than done, but we should put the things to bed before we go to bed, if it makes sense, so that you wake up the next morning with a different mindset, with a different purpose and stuff like that. Because 365 days, 365 ways. So
True, true.
you have
Yeah,
every single day we have an opportunity to correct the things that we did wrong the previous day, but you would never know what you did wrong if you don't go reflect on it.
100%. And I hear you speaking a lot about mind, and uh, I want to say that I almost want to say that some athletes forget to do some mental exercises. So yes, being physical and going to gym, and that's great. I mean, that's one aspect of being fit. But
Yeah,
then there's being mentally fit, being able to carry yourself 365 days. I like that. I mean, that's exactly what everyone should be doing. Yeah. And Arika, you then went to coaching. You've been our coach for a while. And when you were a coach, what sort of mental lessons did you pass on
for
to your to your members that were training with you?
yeah, like you know it obviously because I've been coaching you also. Like in life, there's nothing that we have to do. We get to do it. And what I mean by that is like we must be grateful that we get to train. We must be grateful that me and you can talk now. Stuff like that, because everything comes down to a choice. And I always say, like, there's a difference between being hard and being too hard to yourself. We must learn to give ourselves grace also. And like for me, like I always say, it's like when it comes to coaching people and stuff like that, it's not about me. Then it doesn't become about me. It becomes about the individual that I'm coaching and stuff like that, because I'm working with a human being. I'm not working with a couch or something that doesn't have feelings, stuff like that. I'm working with a human being, and that's why you come to train. It's because you want to get better. So my job is to make you better. If it's in training, if it's in the way you think, it's just purely about making the person better. Because for me, truly, that's where I find the most joy. I want to see people succeed. I want to see you run a 10 kilometers under hour. Stuff like that. For me, it's an amazing thing. But like, I would never take the credit over, because I give you the advice. I tell you how to squat. I tell you how to do things. At the end of the day, you still doing it. You're doing the work. So that's where it comes in with the mindset also, because like we as humans, it's way more easier to do things for other people, not for other people, but also with other people. But when it comes to ourselves, we always negotiate. Like, say for instance, I can tell somebody, okay, let's go for 10-kilometer run. The person will, I would say, like maybe 90%, the person will be like, okay, let's go. But now it comes down to a time like where they have to go run alone. What's going to happen in here? It's going to be, I don't feel like it, you know, stuff like that. So everything needs to start here first, because I always say, like, how can you expect other people to respect you, to love you, if you don't do it to yourself?
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Can I take you a little bit back? I mean, you mentioned your back injury.
yeah, of course.
Would you be open to talking about what happened? I mean,
Yeah,
how
we
did
can
you hurt
talk.
your back?
It's a crazy
Well,
story.
a rugby injury?
No, it's not rugby. Not rugby. So I was in Johannesburg, and I went home to my mom, or I went home for just to relax, because obviously at that time I was in Johannesburg and stuff. And just one day I arrived, and my other my Cape Town friend, he also played semi-professional or professional rugby, and he also got back to Maritzburg. And I was chilling with my mom, dropped my bags, and I walked to him. And it's like maybe I would say like a 10 minutes walk and stuff. But as you walk from our house to his house, you basically pass a club. And I was walking past the club, and then this one girl was standing on the corner, which I know. And we were walking, and then this girl was speaking to me. But as she was speaking to me, we like basically walked. I was continuing with my route, and she was just walking with me because it was also on her way. And she went into her house, and I was walking, and I just heard a car stopping behind. That was around 2 p.m. And I just hear this car stopping behind me, and I'm like, obviously I didn't fall. I was on my way to my friend, and then this guy jumped out. He was like, "What did you do with her?" And I was like, "Bro, what are you talking about?" And I was like, "Hey, listen here, you drunk or whatever the case may be." And I walked in, and as I walked, this guy pulled out a baseball bat and he hit me by my lower back. And in that moment, I didn't like realize like what the hell just happened now. And as he wanted to hit me again, I grabbed the baseball bat, and obviously now the fight or flight instinct kicks in. And I threw the baseball bat, and as I wanted to like protect myself to hit him back or whatever. And then the other guy also jumps out of the car and he hit me with the baseball bat also. I don't know what he hit me, but he hit me at the same spot, and that's when I basically kind of collapsed. So that's basically what happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What a very unfortunate thing to happen.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy. It's crazy to think about it. Like I had nothing to do with anything. I was just minding my own business and walking. And then later on, when things came out, he said to the police, he thought I was somebody else. I was like, bro. But anyways, yeah. So that's what happened.
And I'm assuming that also set you back in your career a little bit
No, I
with,
did. It did.
and that's when you spoke about being on crutches and
Yeah. I
yeah.
couldn't I couldn't go back to Johannesburg.
Wow. Wow. But looking at you now, you look well, and
Thank you.
I'm glad. And this move to Dubai, I mean, what led to that choice? I mean, that's a big move to leave your home country. I mean, you're passionate about South Africa, and you decide,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to explore something different, something new. I mean, what led
Well,
to that choice?
I don't want to say it's a lot of things, but the main the main thing was like I wasn't happy where I was currently working. I won't go into detail about that and stuff like that. I wasn't happy, but also basically I went to go think about it. Like I went to go think deep about it in the sense of what I want out of life or what I want to achieve. Like my goal is to have one day my own facility, like because that's I believe that that's my purpose is to make people better. And for me, it's like through fitness. I've coached multiple people. Like I've coached drug addicts, I've coached kids, I've coached old like elderly people and stuff like that. And it doesn't matter which human being it is. I find joy in making them physically fit, mentally fit, or whatever the case may be, to teach them what the importance is about training and how good it for your mind is and stuff. But to come back, I went to go think deep about it and stuff, and that what would make sense for me to get that what I want, and that's made sense. Like in the sense of in the fitness industry, like me as a it will be very hard to open up my own business unless I have something else outside of it also. And obviously with all the corruption, the tax, stuff like that, it's like you work so hard for what you want, but everything is just being like taken away from you. Like not taken away, but people get set for free, if it makes sense what I'm trying to say. And for me, that made sense to come here is to coach here to make people better here. That because that was my number one purpose. I didn't like come here to make money, just make money and stuff like that because then I wouldn't have come here because then my intentions wasn't pure. My goal is to come here to coach people here, make people better here, to learn, also to see how people is doing business and stuff like that. And then one day to open my own facility. That was that the only thing that got to the conclusion of what will get me there, if it makes sense what I'm trying to say. What's the closest to the goal? And that's why I came here. And I don't regret it. I don't.
When you say open a gym, I mean, is there hope that Elrico will return to South Africa and open a gym, or pretty much wherever life takes you?
But yeah, I would so far I haven't thought about it. But yeah, I would say like wherever life takes me, wherever God plants me to be or something like that. Because like you you can have certain goals or you can have this thing in your mind, or you want to go there, you want to go there. Sometimes it doesn't work out because we can't control the outcome. We can't. You can't control the outcome. You can only control with what you're doing now and what you have now. Because you can't control people say like, yeah, you control the outcome. How? How do you control the outcome? If you don't know how tomorrow is gonna look like. You can control with what you are doing now, you know? But that will get you the outcome that you want, if it makes sense what I'm trying to say.
True.
But yeah, you can't be like, I'm gonna open my own fitness facility or whatever the case may be. Is but what are you doing now?
I mean, this move, I know it sounds very exciting, but obviously there was a lot of sacrifices that came with it. I mean, what have you sacrificed to be there?
What have I sacrificed? My girlfriend, my family, like all two families, basically. Like,
Sure.
yeah, and then obviously my friends, you guys that I've got to meet, stuff like that. That's the things that I've sacrificed. Like I don't if I must put it this way, it's like I love my country. I don't miss South Africa. I miss the people in South Africa. I miss the people that I connected with, that I got to spend time with, to share my life with, the couple of years and stuff like that. I've missed that, but there's nothing that makes me miss South Africa in the sense of like, say, for instance, like Table Mountain or whatever the case may be. Because for me, it's all about connection, like the people you get to spend time with and stuff like that. Because the more you spend time with people and stuff like that, you get to know them, you see how they do things, but also it's like you kind of, how can I say, you kind of become them also. So if I was a guy that was hanging around people that was like drinking and stuff like that, I would have become that also because that would have became my new norm, but I was surrounded by people like you, people that had growth mindsets and stuff like that wanted more out of life and stuff. So I had to become that also, you know. So yeah, I missed that about South Africa,
That aspect,
the
yeah.
people that
You know, you were an athlete and now you're a coach, but that's some sort of being or some sort of evolution, if you want to call it that. I think that's the
yeah,
right word. Because you've
yeah,
evolved. Do you see that as an evolution? That
yeah,
you were a great athlete, but now you've evolved into something better because you're able
yeah.
to give back. And do you see it that way?
Yeah, yeah. But to be honest, also like I won't consider myself an athlete. Like I would, and I know it sounds cliche or whatever, but I don't consider myself an athlete. I consider myself a student. Because I want to continue to learn and stuff like that. And also like I don't do this to prove other people wrong. I do this to prove myself right and stuff like that. And with being an athlete, for me personally, I'm speaking about my experiences and stuff like that. For me, being an athlete leads to a lot of expectations. You know what I mean? Like you become how can I say, like, it becomes an expectation in the sense of if I don't do this and this and this, you know what I mean? Like, for
Huh.
me, I just want to train. I just want to enjoy training, like, continuously challenging myself. And, like, obviously, when it comes, say, for instance, when it comes to competition and stuff like that, then that athlete aspect kicks in. If I don't prepare for competition or if I'm not going to do a competition and stuff like that, that athlete mindset goes away. You know what I mean? It's like to dial in and to dial out. But what I mean by dial out, I mean like to take that away and just train. If it makes sense, what I'm saying. You've seen it also, like when when I used to prepare for Irox or whatever, I go to a different extent in the sense of pushing my body and stuff like that. But when it when the Irox race is done, I go back to normal. Then I so-called become human. If it makes sense what I'm trying to say. So yeah, for me, like that's why I say like I don't consider myself an athlete. If I'm supposed to snatch, make an example, and on my program says that I must snatch 90 kgs, and I don't snatch 90 kgs. Certain people they will get upset. It's like this and that's. For me, it's just like, oh, okay, so let's go to 80 kgs. You know what I mean? Like I don't put that expectation on myself because for what? Life is about, yeah, it's about to enjoy itself also because you need to train out, but you need to find that sweet spot in the sense of enjoyment and stuff like that also because otherwise you become depressed, you become sour, and I'm speaking about experience and stuff like that. Like if you don't achieve the things that you want to achieve, and you'll be like, yeah, but this and that, it's because I didn't train this way, stuff like that. We always find an excuse to go to make us, how can I say, like, feel better. You know what I
Sure.
mean? But for me now, like I said, like even now here in Dubai, I just train. What I feel like, I want to do today, I just do that. I don't go with a certain plan. I go obviously with a plan, but it's not like I need to do this to become this or whatever the case may be. I just want to be fit, healthy, and strong. Sorry.
What do you understand now that you didn't understand when you were an athlete? So I'm making a comparison during the whole transition thing. Now, as a coach, you're
Yeah,
on a different level. What do you understand more now that you never understood when you were in the game, if that makes sense?
that it takes time. That it takes time. It's like I always told you also, like patience is a skill that we must master. You know that it takes time. Nobody's gonna walk into the gym and become the fittest person or snatch 100 kgs or whatever the case may be. Everything is like stumbling blocks in the sense of to get you to get you to where you want to be or whatever the case may be, because like everything that comes easy doesn't last long. But if you took the route on the sense of being patient, showing up every single day, train and do your best that you can that day, then eventually you will get there, because we are human. You're not gonna feel 100% every single day. Sometimes your 20% is your 100%. But as long as you showed up and build that discipline, because discipline is what is gonna get you there, not like motivation and stuff like that. People is like, yeah, I need to be motivated and stuff like that. Yeah, sure, it's nice to be motivated, but what are you gonna do if you're not motivated? David Goggin says that also. It's like, what are you gonna do when you are not motivated?
True.
That's a
Well said.
discipline equals freedom. If you discipline in all aspects, or discipline in what you do or what you want to achieve in life and stuff like that, eventually you're gonna get there. Because if you're gonna continuously chip away every single day with the same mindset, discipline, 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 you're gonna get there eventually. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not over a week, but eventually you will.
You will, for sure. For sure. Erico, in terms of personal success, what does success mean to you? And I don't mean as an athlete. I mean as a human being, on this planet. What is your
For me,
definition of success?
my definition of success, simple: peace, peace.
And you mean on
For
the inside or
from the inside. Obviously, it needs to be on the inside and stuff like that, because for me that's the most important thing, is to have peace. To find peace within yourself, because it's very hard. Like I always say, like if you if you can hate, you can love. It's a choice. But peace is a continuously practice. You need to continuously practice peace. Now, because everybody can say this, like, yeah, what's the word, that I'm at peace and stuff like that. Are you truly at peace? Like, say for instance, somebody did something wrong with you, wrong to you, and you use the word like, yeah, I'm at peace. Whatever it did is fine. But are you truly at peace? Because at peace means, it doesn't mean like how you behave. It means that how you feel inside. Because you can say, for instance, say me and you had an argument, and tomorrow we get to it. I can cover that in the sense of, what happened yesterday, stuff like that. But you still have that feeling, it's like, I don't like him anymore. Just make an example because of maybe something that is said or whatever the case may be. But I've like I had to what's the word, like, practice that continuously, and I'm still not getting it right. I'm not saying that I found peace completely, but for me that's the most important thing, is to be at peace. It's
mm,
like, because the world outside, it's not what we think it is. It's
true?
not what we think it is. It's not just sunshine and rainbows.
What sort of legacy do you think you would leave behind? Let's put it this way. What sort of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Yeah, like I haven't thought about it that much, or I don't think about it like as in now or whatever. But I want, like, when I leave Earth, I want people to remember me as the guy that was always willing to help. It's as simple as that.
Simple.
the guy that was all in willing to help. Like,
That's amazing. That's beautiful. Yeah.
for me, it's the two easiest but also the hardest things is to love and is to help. If you think about it, because we always obviously it's important to look after yourself first and to look after your family or whatever the case may be. And what's the word is like to look after your own family or to help each other and stuff. But if we as humans just helped each other and loved each other, I believe truly the world would have been a better place. Honestly, that for me, I think that's also that is the purpose in life. It's like to help and to love.
Mm.
The world would have been a better place. Like I said, it's the easiest thing, but also the hardest thing.
True. True.
It's the easiest.
I read a book recently by Dr. Demartini, and he says human beings are ruled by either one of two emotions, either love or fear. And
Yep.
I hear you speak a lot about love. But on the fear side, is there something that still scares you?
Yeah, that's a deep question. That's fear. Yeah, I would say I've actually posted it on Instagram also. The movie Coach Carter? Have you watched it before?
Yes, a while back. Yeah.
Yeah, so where Samuel L. Jackson is asking the boy, what's your deepest fear? So and it couldn't the boys they didn't like understand why he kept on asking that till that boy answered was like so basically what he was saying is that our deepest fear is that we are powerful outmented, but it's not our darkness that makes us like fear or whatever, it's that the light that we sign is to make sure that we sign the light and not the dark,
Mhm.
if it makes sense. So to basically what I'm trying to say is that to sign my biggest fear is that I don't sign the light, if it makes sense what I'm trying to say, like not helping or because I can say like, yeah, I'm helping people and stuff like that, but do I truly do? You know what I mean? So it's like I would say like my biggest fear is to leave Earth and not accomplish what I said now, to help as many human beings. You know?
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real. I mean, life is so short, right? I mean, there's going to be a young kids listening to this podcast, to this video, and someone from a tough background. I mean, what would you want them to hear?
It's not to give up, you know. Like they say, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, like today doesn't define tomorrow. You know, don't don't give up. Just keep doing if you have a dream, keep it alive. Like distractions will come, people will place self-doubt in it and stuff. But if you truly believe in what you are capable of and you truly believe that you can do it, go for it. Like your circumstances, honestly, it doesn't define you. It defines you with what you do about it. I could easily would have been like, you know what, this is my life. It is what it is. I will just try to make the best out of it. Or you can have the mindset just like effort. Like, this doesn't define me. I'm gonna try to to make the best out of it and stuff like that. If an opportunity comes, have it. Like if there's an opportunity and it makes sense, have it.
Mm,
And if it doesn't work out, you go back to where you started and you continue till a new opportunity
mm,
comes and stuff. But sorry, don't wait for it because it's not gonna come. Okay? You have to go for it because nothing just comes to you. Like they say, it's like you attract it. If you want to be a fitness professional in fitness or whatever the case may be, you need to love it. And that's what I've learned in this age that I'm at now. It's like I can't be like what's the word? Like I wanna be the strongest guy or not I won't even say the strongest guy. Like I want to have a gym, but what I'm doing now doesn't lead to that, if it makes sense what I'm trying to say. Like, I want to be a successful businessman, but I'm not living the life as that. You need to love it first before you become it. Yeah.
If you could speak to your younger self now, knowing everything
Yeah.
that you know now, what would you say to the younger Elrico?
It's okay. Honestly, like, it's okay.
Mm,
You made it. No, no, let me rephrase it. I didn't made it. You survived it because I didn't made it yet.
true.
Like, as long as, honestly, like, as long as I'm alive on this earth, I won't, I will continue to pursue, because till it's game over, you know, because like I said, like it just take one choice or one smart move or one right move and it can happen. You know
It
what I
can
mean?
happen. Yeah.
But you need to be patient,
Yeah.
but you also need to be aligned with what you have and keep moving forward because sometimes you're gonna go to the left, sometimes you're gonna go up, sometimes you're gonna go right. You're not just gonna walk one straight line. Challenges will come and stuff like that. But you need to like how can I say like push it away and keep focusing on what you want in front of you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Enrico, thank you so much for your time and thanks for this
My
open and
pleasure, Vic.
honest
Thank you for you. Thank you.
conversation. It's just not a story about sport, it's a story about resilience, perseverance, and when things are not going your way, you got to kind of make it go your way.
Yeah,
I really
100%.
appreciate it. Thanks so much for
Thank you
being
for you.
open. For those listening, this episode was recorded remotely with Elrico joining us from Dubai, and I think it's a reminder that meaningful conversations don't need perfect studios, just real people with real stories. If this conversation resonated with you, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share the episode. It genuinely helps the podcast reach more people who might need to hear stories like this. Rico, thank you again. And to everyone listening, this has been Voices Unfiltered.